Today, we give glory to God for where you are now. Good morning. I hope we are all doing very well. Dwelling on existing protocols, I want to thank, on behalf of the university, to be precise, the Faculty of Accounting and Finance for this gathering. And I also want to thank the panelists, the speakers for today, other institutions that are partnering with us. Michael will mention the media houses later on, but on behalf of the faculty, I want to say thank you for coming. Our students as well, thank you for being here. You had to neglect a lot of the pleasures out there and be here. I hope that you stay to the end of the program. And our viewers outside the university campus, those who are watching us, we want to say thank you very much for being with us and watching us as we discuss key issues affecting our country today. Those who are tall, we don't talk for long. That's what I've been told. I'll do about 15 minutes or so, and then that will end. Then we call for my good friend to also take up the stage. What is my task here? It's very simple. I'm to look at various sectors, issues on leakages across various sectors, and then we'll set the ball rolling for other speakers also to come and discuss these important issues with us. If you observe what I have here, the topic is very simple, and in academia, this is what we do. When we have challenging issues, we investigate and come up with our findings, and I'm sure that's what my next speaker will be talking about in a few minutes. But what I have here, Ghana's fiscal crisis, the urgent need to stop the billion-dollar bleeding. The urgent need for us to stop the billion-dollar bleeding. If you observe, over the years, we have gone through, as a country, a lot of issues. And the question that comes up all the time, is Ghana broke or not? If you observe what I have here, media, can you project the next slide for us? I don't know if you can see from the down. Ghana is not broke. We are bleeding. And our gathering today is not about NDC MPP matter. It is about Ghana versus corruption. And I'm sure in football circles, the only team that we don't want to meet is Nigeria. So it's not about NDC or MPP, but it's about Ghana versus corruption. Trying to find a solution that will save our nation from fiscal collapse. And that is why we are here. If you look at the various sectors in our economy today, there have been a lot of issues on these leakages over the period. Ghana loses almost 9 billion yearly through 3 areas. 1, corruption. 2, tax evasion. And 3, smuggling. Systemic. A figure will tell you the source, so you can verify. And today you can do fact check in a few minutes. You can check. If we are wrong, you tell us. He stated, without plugging these whole leakages or leaks, Ghana's fiscal stability will remain a mirage. And the source is there. If you look at the second issue here, the various sectors that we have recorded this issue. First, let's look at the first sector. GRA. Illicit financial flows, 3 billion. And that is the source. The GRA estimates 30% of potential tax revenue remains uncollected, with high net worth individuals and foreign firms exploiting legal loopholes. And that amount translates into 3 billion annually to illicit financial flows. After GRA, customs and trade. You can go back again, please. World Bank report 2023, customs and trade corruption remains a major drain. And the invoicing of import risks, vehicle, machinery, textiles cost Ghana 550 million. After this, put all the numbers together, we'll give you a table, and that will sum up to the figure that we've mentioned. That is from GRA, customs and trade only. The next one is on the minerals. The gold mining, 2 billion losses in 2022. That's the figure we have. So the Mineral Commission estimates 60% of small-scale mining operations evade taxes entirely. Ghana gold sector, a key revenue source, and that is a quote, and that is a source. So the figure here we are talking about is 2 billion of the 60% we are talking about. Oil and gas, we recorded in 2023 1.5 billion unaccounted for. And the quote there tells you OPEC production sharing agreement have led to 1.5 billion unaccounted oil revenues. Cocoa sector, 150 million lost to smuggling. And that is a quote there. So we have a figure of 150 now. If you look at the port, the food and agriculture, that is the figure we have. The next one is the forestry. I think you can go back to the forestry. The forestry and logging, 250 million loss. Forestry Commission. Illegal logging costs Ghana 250 million annually in unpaid timber royalties. Informal sector, according to BOG, the informal economy employs, we know, is about 80% or so. That's the figure that we have. And per our estimation, or what we have been told, it's about 15.6 million. That is how much the informal sector we bleed from that angle. Public procurement, 170 million wasted, Auditor General reports. Just to give you an idea of what we have been through as a country in terms of revenue leakages. Then, if you look at the next sector, that is a procurement, 170, we have mentioned that. Then the next one is another ministry, which is also very important ministry. That is fertilizer, but that is a part of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. 100 million also lost yearly to fertilizer smuggling. And we have the source also quoted for you. So 100. The next one is Port and Harbour. 250 million loss. Corruption at port further exacerbate losses. And the figure here is about, if you translate 25% loss in import duties, that should give you about 250 million yearly. All right? Is that the last? We have the next one. That is to give you a better picture of all that we are projecting in terms of the quote. If you look at this, annual tax revenue losses at a glance, it's a very simple thing to know. We have given you the pages where you can find those reports. We have given you the source. We have given you the amount. We have given you the organizations. And you have 9 billion Ghana cedi loss every year. And I must indicate, this is a worrying situation. So I've come up with a nice quote here. And can you flip the nice quote? That we have a problem. The figure we have seen annually, how much we lose, are not just numbers. Rather, it represents classrooms unbuilt, machines, medicines unbought, and then dreams deferred. Don't just look at those as numbers, but they will tell you three things. Dreams deferred, because when we are not getting those money, how would we get people to fulfill their dreams? How do we buy medicine for those who are sick? And how do we build our classrooms, our universities, colleges? It's a worrying situation. And someone will ask me the root causes. The root causes. Why are we in this? What are the things that would influence some of this? Weak enforcement, outdated systems, institutionalized collusion, lack of transparencies. These are the four things that we came up with, and that has been our major problem over the years. Loopholes exploited by corporations and elites. We have manual processing enabling corruption. Then we have officials and smugglers' profits also there. Then issue about contract hidden from public scrutiny. Consequences. Crumbling services. Youth unemployment. Look at where our children are, our kids are. And look at the youth. Debt crisis. If we don't talk, we don't speak, we don't talk about this, these are the things that we are going to face as a country. Having considered this, you asked me for a solution. We don't just put this, but also proper solution to what we have to do. What do we do as a country? Do we keep silent and allow these things to happen? No. 4 ways to tackle this, and I'm sure my next good friend will talk about digitalization and how to transform or solve the problems. We need to digitalize our revenue system. That is very important. This is what we don't have in our country. And over the year, we've been struggling about this, how to curb this issue. Strict sanctions. Strict sanctions. We also need to encourage public transparency, formalize the informal sectors. In terms of the sanctions, what do we do? Do we have to jail them? And you know, in our country, when we jail them, we have to also provide money and support those in prisons as well. What do we do? It's a tall order. To finalize or to wrap up what my presentation, it's a very simple quote, and I'm sure a lot of us will forever remember this quote. Can you flip to the last stage for us? The data is clear. The victims are real. The data is clear. We're giving you sources. And then the victims are real. And the solutions demand courage from all stakeholders, government, private sector, and citizens alike. And that's why we are here today. So it gives you a global picture of what is happening in terms of revenue in our country. We're giving you various sectors, what is happening in the various sectors across over the years. What is the way to go? And I'm sure we'll profile the first solution, digitize revenue collection area. So I will call upon MC to take us through, whilst we invite the next speaker to take us through the solution in terms of research that we have done. Thank you very much.
Please, let's do better with a round of applause. The presentation was very insightful and worrying at the same time. The $9 billion just makes me shudder, because Agenda 111 was budgeted at about $1.6 billion. It meant that the revenue losses could have at least built more than 4 times Agenda 111 hospitals. And I just point some numbers. If the average staff strength of a hospital is, say, 250, multiply that by 111, multiply that by 4, and just by tackling revenue losses would have created over 100,000 jobs in the health industry alone. And that's why we should all be concerned about it, because if these jobs were readily available, you would be employed even before you leave school yourselves. That is why this conversation is very crucial. And that's why you should care about this. But ladies and gentlemen, before we continue, we'd like to acknowledge our partners in today's event. We are ably supported by, let me run you through the very long list. And we must, I think first of all, we should put your hands together for the Faculty of Accounting and Finance. My only concern is that I don't see a rep from government here, because this conversation is crucial, and I think it will be important that somebody, at least from the finance ministry, should be, unless the person is here and I don't know. Energy is here, okay. It's very important that they take notes from what the fine work you are doing here and hopefully fix the challenge. So we are participating institutions. We have the Ministry of Finance. Anybody from the Ministry of Finance? I'll keep checking till we finally get the person. Ministry of Energy. A rep from the Ministry of Energy. Okay, on their way. Deloitte. Hello, our chairman. Thank you. ICAG. On the way coming. AT. ECG. KPMG. Hello, sirs. Ghana Water Company. Okay, and Telecel. MTN. PURC. PwC. And EY. Put your hands together, please, for our partners. And for the media partners, we have Pan-African TV, UTV, TV3, JoyNews, Metro, Wuntumi TV, Peace FM, and Asempa 94.7. Can we put our hands together also for the various media houses that are here? So before we take the next presentation, there's a short documentary that I would play to give more context to the conversation we are having. So please sit tight.
Congested hospitals with insufficient resources to schools struggling with outdated materials. The lack of tax revenue directly affects the quality of life for Ghanaians. These leakages, largely driven by inefficiencies in tax administration, corruption, and illicit activities such as smuggling and underreporting, have resulted in Ghana losing billions of dollars every year. In fact, the Auditor General's 2020 report revealed that Ghana lost approximately $2 billion due to these systemic issues. But amidst these challenges, a beacon of hope has emerged. The Revenue Assurance and Compliance Enforcement, RACE program, was established to confront these issues head-on. Through innovative strategies, RACE aims to track and reduce revenue leakages, ensuring that more funds reach the government coffers. RACE works tirelessly to monitor key sectors such as petroleum, mining, and customs, where leakages have been most prevalent. By implementing tighter compliance checks and utilizing technology, RACE is revolutionizing the way Ghana collects its tax revenue. Our role is to identify vulnerabilities in the system, target high-risk areas, and use data-driven solutions to ensure compliance. It's about improving transparency and making the tax process as efficient as possible. Another key player in this transformation is Strategic Mobilization Limited, SML. Working in tandem with the Integrated Customs Management System, ECUMS, SML has been instrumental in enhancing revenue collection through technology-driven solutions. The Integrated Customs Management System, or ICUMS, has digitized customs processes, improving efficiency and reducing opportunities for corruption. With real-time data on imports and exports, ECUMS ensures that all goods crossing the borders are properly declared and taxed.
At the collection point, we need to automate all remaining collection points so we can reduce human interventions and leakages. The current system should be replaced with automated ones in which the revenues will be monitored using a centralized system.
I think one of the major ways we can prevent revenue leakages is to empower our monetary institution that we have, like the SRAJ and Office of the Special Prosecutor, so to be very independent, so that they can monitor the activities of the Ghana Revenue Authority and then the extractive sector, the gold and the mining sector.
These are views from some graduate students as to how they think revenue leakages can be blocked.
Distinguished colleagues and fellow Africans, I can confidently say I recognize a potential good thing when I see one. And what I've seen in the SML Fuse multi-site data capturing system is not just a potentially good thing. It is a transformational African innovation with the potential to shape the future of data-driven governance and industrial operations globally. In a world powered by data, the ability to capture, synchronize, and analyze real-time information across multiple locations is no longer a futuristic ideal. It is a fundamental necessity, and Ghana, through this homegrown innovation, is boldly stepping into the future.
But there is hope. By addressing tax revenue leakages, Ghana has the opportunity to unlock its full potential. Through continued collaboration, technological innovation, and a commitment to transparency, the country can secure a future where tax revenues serve their intended purpose to drive economic growth and improve the lives of Ghanaians. The road ahead may be challenging, but with the collective efforts of government, the private sector, and the people of Ghana, we can build a more resilient economy, a stronger, fairer, and more prosperous Ghana for future generations. This is the beginning of a new chapter in Ghana's journey towards fiscal sustainability. Join the movement and let's work together to ensure that every cedi counts.
All right, so at least it is clear that we all can't afford to sit on the fence anymore. We must make sure that we play our part in ensuring that revenue leakages are sealed in this country so that we can develop as fast as we want and this economy can grow to create the jobs and the enabling environment for us as citizens. All right, ladies and gentlemen, next on the bill, well, the first speaker said he was tall, so he doesn't make long speeches. It doesn't mean that the next person should make long speeches because he's not tall. I didn't say so. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Let's take an address from Dr. Eric Boacheyado.
No comment. Thank you. If we are vertically challenged, you have to make up with long speeches. Thank you so much, Mike, and thank you, colleagues, and thank you for the opportunity to share not my slides, rather, not this one. I stand on the already established protocols to share with you a study that I conducted independently with you on the way forward as far as tackling revenue leakages are concerned. And as we wait to get the slides on, I should establish the foundation for this particular study. I personally think that we cannot build a nation based on trust. Strong nations are built on institutions. We cannot say that we want to be like the advanced country, but we are hoping and expecting that those who hold public offices will uphold the trust that is imposed in them to act properly. I believe that if we put proper systems together, whether the person is trustworthy or not, the person can fit within the system. And if you cast your mind back when President Obama, former US president, came to Ghana in, I think, 2007, he said that Africa don't need strong men, they need strong institutions. Until we get to the point where we have strong institutions and structures working, we will not be able to realize our dreams as Ghanaians. So I set out myself to find solutions to some of the things that Professor Boadi has already shown us, the revenue leakages, and I started looking around to find models around the world that we can use to solve our challenges, And I am a firm believer in technology and digitalization. And if you get a chance to read some of the papers I have written, I've done quite extensive work on how we can even blend digitalization and financial inclusion. And recently I have written a couple of papers on tax revenue and how we can curb it with technology. It's published online. You can find some and read them. So there is this institution called Strategic Mobilization Limited, SML, that I wrote a letter to because I have heard all that have been said about them. Those of you who have watched Manasseh's documentary on SML, you have read KPMG report, and it's good we have KPMG here as well. Report on SML. I think African Center for Energy Policy, they are also represented here. They also have a snippet and pieces of a report on SML. So I wanted to go beyond just has been reported and find out whether there's more to the story. So I wrote a letter to this particular company, and please, are we ready? I will be showing you some few things. So I wrote a letter, and they allowed me the opportunity. They gave me the opportunity to even visit their facility and to acquaint myself with first-hand information as to how they operate and the claims that they've made as a company, whether it is legit, whether it is factual, or it is not what it is based on the knowledge or what we know in the media about SML. So this is an academic discussion, and also to bring an independent discussion to the subject of SML. And it's insightful that we have learned colleagues who will be joining the panel session to discuss this information further. So, closing the gap, how technology is curbing tax revenue leakages in Ghana. Next slide, please. Okay, next. Good. So I think we have seen enough from the presentation we saw earlier. Globally, from McKinsey and Company, tax leakages is everybody's problem, you know. And when you come to Ghana, various reports give various values to the revenue leakages that we have, and we have report from Seaboard, Tel Energy, Seaboard, and NPA. Various report tells us that indeed there's a leakage, there's something we are suffering, and that there's a need for us to do something about these leakages. Next slide. I'm not sure you're able to see, but there's a fundamental report by EY. They looked at tax leakages over a period from 2016 to 2018. And their main problem, or the main finding, was that annual petroleum stock volumes, you know, reported by NPA is usually different from what the BDCs have reported. Okay. Thank you. I'm able to control from here. Thank you. So clearly, it shows that what is reported by NPA is not as supposed to be by the BDCs, you know. So there's a need for us to do some reconciliation. If you get opportunity, you get access to the report, you can read it. Then there's also another report by the African Center for Energy Policy in 2001 that also looked at the petroleum downstream, the challenges that we have there, and the key issues that they found out is that the downstream petroleum sector in Ghana faces persistent evasion and smuggling, leading to significant revenue losses. The report acknowledged that there has been some effort by the GRA's now ICUMS, the ICOMS, and the NPA's ERDMS to monitor this particular petroleum product volumes, you know, to be able to gauge the volumes, whether the volume reported by the NPA is the same as the GRA people would have, you know. Then there is still a gap in reconciling revenues and consumption data with an estimated value of about 1.1 billion discrepancies in the 2020 report. Then they mentioned that SML, a contractor high for revenue assurance, claims to have saved government 1 billion, but this claim is not supported by official fiscal data or company records. You see, when you read a report, you have to go beyond what the report is saying to find out things by yourself, because some of these reports are based on a primary source. So go on the primary source and find out whether there's claim to support what SML is saying, or there's no claims to support it. So if this report said there are no claims, we have to go and find out the primary data rather than just swallowing what has been put there. Good. Then they made 6 important recommendations. And one of them, they said that NPA should deepen electronic tracking of petroleum products to save consumers from inefficiency by the expensive marketing of petroleum products. Don't forget that already the report acknowledged that there are some technologies that are in existence, like the ICOMS and the ERDMS. But they went further to say that the NPA should deepen electronic tracking of petroleum products. So it means that possibly what is available, or probably what is available per this report, may not be efficient or effective enough to block all the leakages. I think we're on the same page. Thank you. Good. Now, let's bring SML into this discussion. What does SML actually offer? I don't want to go into the technicalities, but to apply, let's say, common sense to the basics of the things that they are doing, and we can make informed judgment or decisions out of it. And the good thing is that SML, if you want to conduct a research, just write to them. They are open for discussion. Anybody, whether you're an MPhil student, you're a PhD student, or you are a layperson, if you want to find out what they do, they will open up their doors to you, write to them, they will respond, just like I did, and I acquaint myself with what they are doing. So I'm sure they should have a desk somewhere here around, and probably you may want to talk to them within the break, and so that you can get first-hand information about what actually they are doing. Good. So in 5 or 4 points, what SML does is that they install electronic metering management system. Yes, already NPA has a system like that they use to track petroleum volumes. They have a system. So I will explain why, if there's already a system, why should you have another system? So why should you duplicate an existing work, which means that there's a system working. You have also done something to duplicate effort, and duplication is a waste of resources. We will come to that point. Then they have an ultrasonic flow meters to see. So at the source of all where the depots are, there are meters to track volumes that are passing through. So at every point in time, and we will do a live feed from here for you to look into their monitoring room, what is happening currently as we speak. So every liter of fuel that passes through is being monitored in a way. Don't forget, I've said that the ERDMS by the NPA also does a similar work. Good. And there's automatic reconciliation. So what is happening is that the NPA has a system that is monitoring. The ICOM create a platform. It's an integrated system, hooked all the players on it for trading. But this system provided by the SML help to be able to reconcile. So there's like more like a cloud system or a backup system to be able to help the reconciliation. Why is there a need for this reconciliation? We'll get there. Then there's an AI-powered surveillance. What it means is that there's a 24-hour monitoring. So even when the people go to bed, there's a system watching. So when you touch anything, there's also an alarm that will trigger. So you cannot tamper with that particular system. When you watch Banasi Azuri's video, which I think it is a good thing for academic discussion, he mentioned about the fact that there is two types of meters that can be used. There's a contactless meter and there's a contact meter. And in the video, the technical people will tell you the contact meters are likely to be better than the contactless meter. That's a discussion or a debate for a different discussion. But what is happening here is that these meters are able to help in data capturing, to be able to cross-check, and also to help in reconciliation, whether what is being reported, what is being done, is it really the case? Good. So let's look at a typical company. In a typical company, I'm happy to have a lot of accountants here. I mean, you have a corporate accountant. There's an internal audit or auditor, then there's an external auditor. What is the work of these guys? A corporate accountant will be the originator of the information. And an internal auditor should ensure that whatever is being done is following the systems and structures to improve controls. Why do we put internal controls? We put internal controls to prevent, because before the external auditor will come, the damage would have been done already. So the external auditor is more like a fire service tanker. They wait for the fire to happen, then they come to put out the fire. But the internal audit will ensure there's a continuous improvement and checks so that we minimize the likelihood of error or misappropriation or whatever it is. Then the external auditor will come and affirm or otherwise what has been done, whether the structures has indeed been followed. Let's go to the port. In our port system, we have the ICOMs working. And those of you who remember, we used to have the West Blue. So the West Blue were doing system classification. Because when you do, let's say I bring a car I bring a 4-wheel drive, then I classify it as a Toyota Vitz. Obviously, by the classification, I'm going to pay a lower taxes. So the West Blue then, now in the ICOMS, integrating the ICOMS system, was helping to be able to ensure that the proper classification is done. If we get classification wrong, we'll be paying lower taxes or wrong taxes. Good. Now, when we were doing the classification, there was another company, which is the SML, to validate and check whether indeed the classification is correct or not. So this system has been done in the Ghana port, and currently, whatever is being done, there's a second eye to look at whether the classification is correct or wrong. So the SML story does not just start from petroleum, but it's a monitoring system that is tested in the Ghana port and harbor that will ensure that the right thing is done. By May, we will be increasing electricity utility tariff. Yesterday, I had a conversation on TV3 with Michael, and I told them that the 370 million, they should invest it in the utility for efficiency. The reason why a tariff keeps going up is because of inefficiencies, and we burden people for the public inefficiencies. If we have a system to minimize the waste and the inefficiency in the ECG and the Ghana water, I'm sure that we will not be increasing the tariff or the whatever we are paying for utilities. Our lack of improvement in efficiency to have a second look makes few people to pay more. So by removing this inefficiency in the Ghana port system, one way or the other, it has contributed to revenue generation. Then we come to the petroleum sector. Here there's ICOMS, there is NPA system, the ERDMS. The figure generated by SML in terms of the latest of volume traded, what is it doing? It is a second check. Okay, NPA, your system, this is how much. You said the volume is 100, but the SML figure says 120. Let's find a way to reconcile. Now, up until that time, most of the reconciliation were manual, paperwork. You bring your paper, we find your paper to do or to reconcile, and it is even let me say more serious when you go to the upstream petroleum sector, where the tallow and those companies, they provide their own meter. So I am in the let's say I've built my house, I want light, then I buy my meter and I tell ECG, this is my meter, make sure my meter works, and my meter, based on my meter reading, I will pay bills. So what it means is that we need that second look, probably third look, to be able to cross-check whether the figures that are being provided, is it really the case as it is. So what SML is doing is to provide that audit and assurance, or to be able to provide a second data for reconciliation and validation. That is if external audit is needed. Even when you come to the public sector, after all these, the internal audits in the public company will check. There is also audit service who will come and check. They will still have to appear at the Public Accounts Committee to answer questions. Why do we place so many layers? And now we are placing that layers in terms of technology in petroleum and the port, and it seems to be a very big problem. I think that we should have a serious conversation about it. Okay, so I have mentioned that we have this the GRA system, the ICOMS, and we have the NPA. So what SML is doing is is providing a technological solutions and data integration for cross-checking and ensuring that the right thing is done. Let's find out. One of the things that the KPMG report and Manasseh Azuri's documentary mentioned was the fact that the claims made by the company is likely not to be. The claims that they've saved the country this amount of million of cedis may not be as it has been reported. Let's assume, without admitting, Let's assume that is the case. So in academics or in research, you have to find out if you want to find out whether an introduction of a technology has brought a change, you have to look at what it was before and what it is after. Then we can compare. It may not entirely be that probably the change may not entirely come from the SML, but indeed, by introduction of a technology or a model, if there's a change, then there is a contribution, and we have to really find out what the contribution of the technology has been. So this is discrepancies in revenue reporting, the lifting volumes and the taxable volumes by NPA and the GRA, and the differences before the engagement of SML. SML was engaged somewhere in I think May 2020, around May 2020. So from 9 months before to April 2020, the total discrepancies between what the lifting of NPA and the taxable volume should have been is about 3.2 billion liters. That is what it's supposed to be. Then after the introduction, and you can verify this from the BOG and Petroleum Holding account. All these things are public information. You can find out what it is. Then after May 2020, we look 12 months afterwards. Look at 12 months afterwards. Don't forget that we had about 3.2 billion liters before the introduction. Then after the introduction, if we do the calculation month by month, we are having about 260 million differences. About 260 million differences. So I did the math at the extreme right there. That premiums before the SML was about 3.2 billion. Then the post is around 260 million. The difference between the pre and post is about 2.9 billion, which means that by some magical hand, not SML, let's assume it's not SML, by some magical means, there has been a reduction in discrepancies by about 91.9%. 91.1%. So if it's not an SML, let's ask ourselves what extraordinary thing the GRA and NPA did to be able to bring the reduction to about 92%. That's a question we have to find out, assuming it is not SML. But we know that within the period, the only new introduction or new variable in the discussion is the engagement of what? SML. Hello. Yes. So when you do the modeling, this is what you are going to get. That the before you can see a wide gap, but as we inch up in the middle of 2020 from May, you can see the discrepancies are closing up. And I think they have a name for even they're expecting some margin, about 3% margin deviation there. So let's address some few misconceptions. Good. There are legitimate concerns that have been raised. And what KPMG audits, and I want to focus on the KPMG report. They said that, number one, the financial range, the cost of the service, I have summarized about 306 pages. I've tried to bring out the key issues out. The cost of the service provided by SML was largely based on a variable fee structure, which might not be appropriate for the nature of the service. They didn't say this one might, it's a suggestion. Then you have to look at what go into the contracting, what went into the arrangement. They raised procurement issues. The report raised procurement issues. The contract with SML were awarded without proper needs assessment or alignment with procurement regulation. Needs assessment. Now, when you read the PPA Act, there is nowhere in the PPA Act that tells a public institution to do a needs assessment. It is it is, somebody will say, ethically right to do it. But per the regulations, there is nowhere stated that you should do a needs assessment. So it is not a prerequisite to awarding of a contract. Now, the nature of this contract, I think I may have to skip some because of time. The nature of this contract is risk-reward basis. I should also say that the PPA Act does not define what a risk-reward contract is and on which basis a risk-reward contract should be awarded. It is on that basis even KPMG recommended that we need to revise or broaden our PPA framework, because if we live in a technology-driven world, there will be new solutions that are coming. You see, so the contract can come. Since there is no mention of a risk-reward basis, it does not also mean that you cannot undertake a contract which is a risk-reward. There's nowhere stated that it is forbidden that you cannot undertake a risk-reward basis contract. Now, risk-reward basis means that the company should bear all the cost. Bear all the cost. Then, you will only be paid based on your performance. So if your performance does not bring any addition, you will get zero, and all your investment will go zero. So the government will not have to pay a dime for the investment made by the company. Good. So if the rates or what you said you are going to do, you are able to do it, then the rate which is agreed, and per my understanding, per the arrangement between SML and JRE, I think whatever revenue, the government takes about 95%, and about 5% goes to the company after all the investment that have been made. And one of the things I also saw in the Manasseh review was the fact that the company has not invested so much to warrant that particular returns. So that is why it is important that all of us here get opportunity to write to them, tell them you are also a researcher. You want to find things for yourself. Go and look at things for yourself. Don't just swallow everything hook and sinker. Find things for yourself. Then you'll find out whether there has been a substantial investment in that space or not. Then we can have that particular conversation. So it is clear that since there was nothing forbidding GRA to undertake a risk-reward contract, then they need to come under one of the prescribed means of awarding contract, whether single sourcing, justifiable single sourcing, or a competitive tendering process. And because it is new, and they said, okay, I'm not losing anything, just go and do it. So if we look at the contracting process, which I will show you some few things. I'm not sure you're able to see this clearly. Good. You are unable to see. So this one, request for rectification, consultancy services for transaction audits and external verification services and measurement audit on downstream petroleum product. What is it to rectify? It seems that there has been an action which has gone on ahead without your prior knowledge. So they wrote to the PPA to rectify what has been done. Then the PPA rightly responded. Your cursor is not helping, the pointer is not helping us. Then the PPA responded, request for ratification of consultancy. They said, yes, we agree. All that you have done, yes, it makes sense, go ahead. Then the company goes ahead. The contract is ratified. Then they go ahead again that, okay, now, unfortunately, that's why you have to go and see SML so that you can get access to some of this data. Then they go ahead that, okay, based on the facts that has been provided, based on the facts or the data that have been provided, there has been a significant reduction in the deviation between what is reported by the NPA and the taxable volume. Based on that, let's do an extension of about 5 years. Now, they went through the sole sourcing to seek PP approval before the next contract was awarded. So colleagues and students who are gathered here, as I bring my session to an end, something brief are gathered about SML, which is, number one, it's a Ghanaian-owned business. Started in 2017. They have some history in port services. One allegation, or one of the things in the video, is that the company has no background in petroleum. In academia, if you want to measure age of a firm, there are two ways we measure the age of a firm. Number one, how long the firm has been in existence. That's the age of the firm, right? And the experiences of the key people that are there. So I can start a company today in climate or sustainability. It may be a day old, but the one leading the company will have some experience. So it is not just about how long the company has been in existence, but also how long the key actors or the key managers or the key leaders of the company have been in that space. And the company can boast of about 80 years combined experience of their top management in the field of technology, petroleum, engineering, And more to the point, they are providing a system audit for, they've done it for the port, and they are doing it, for the port, yes, and they are doing it in the petroleum downstream as well. So what do we need to do? For us to be fiscal reliant, we need to interrogate whether there's a solution beyond what has been said within the media space. Can we go beyond and find out the realities of things? Have they offered, is SML offering something that can even be duplicated into other sectors like ECG and Ghana Water? What about our gold? What about the upstream? Is there anything at all that we can learn from it? Is there a need for us to have a second look? Providing more data, providing more assurance. How bad is it? Is it a case that risk reward contracts are not effective in Ghana? And should we enact a law to cancel a risk reward contract? These are questions that I want us to think about. Until then, we will be kicking against the very things that we have recommended. Like as I told you, there are various reports says that there's a need to deploy technology in terms of tracking our revenue from various sectors. Now we have the SML model. Let's have a conversation about it. If there's a way we can make it better, if we can criticize to improve, let's criticize and make suggestions to improve it, rather than criticizing to destroy it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eric Boakye-Adom. I don't know if to say if it was short or long, but I'll leave that to you to decide. All right, so I understand we'll be taking a live feed now to contextualize all that we've seen so far. So if the technical team is ready. So while we try to resolve the technical issues, we should be hearing some live sound from the feed. But while we are at it, I would humbly ask the panel members to please be on standby because we are up next right after this. Or maybe I should just go ahead and invite them to the stage whilst we figure this out. Okay, I think that works. So there are going to be two panel sessions. The first one is going to focus on bridging the gap, exploring the role of technology in reducing tax revenue leakages. So first on the panel is Miss Abigail Mensah from EY. Please, can you put your hands together for her as she... Maybe for the sake of the screens, can we all go to the far corner so that at least we don't block it should it work? Thank you. Strategically, you are the only lady on the panel and they put you first. So put your hands together for the only lady on the panel. Next is Dr. Richard K. Bosu. He's into tech. Can we put our hands together for him? He's there? Oh, it's ready. Okay. I think the sound is muted from their end, so if they can unmute. To the team from the other side, can you please unmute so we can hear you from here? Thank you very much. While at it, oh, there's another lady actually. All right, they decided to do it in person rather. Put your hands together for.
Good morning, it's almost afternoon. We are coming from SML to give the live real-time reading of what has been spoken about. So the technical people are here to speak to the technical issues, and then the panelists can take over from there. So what we are going to show you briefly today is going to be about the downstream petroleum monitoring, what we do there in real time. The real-time activity is able to help us to monitor, as we are talking now, all the petroleum products that are being lifted across the country, 25 depots from Bupe, from Kumasi, Akosombo, Boga, Tema. We are picking everything that is going on. So at the end of the day, GRA is able to know this is the amount of tax we can get for, we are supposed to receive on 23rd of April 2025 in the downstream petroleum. So they don't have to wait till some days or months before they can be able to do reconciliation. Because we are doing real-time monitoring, they are able to have that every minute, every second as we speak. So we are picking a live read from the data center. We will walk you through it. I don't know how the clarity, the technical people will look at this, the clarity of the images, so you can see the numbers changing as they are picking from various depots across the country. We brought with us something special. Very soon we will adore that. We are finished with the upstream. We've done something special like we've done in the downstream, also in the upstream. And for the first time, we will show it to you. So you are privileged to see this. For the first time, we've been doing this for 5 years now. It's ready, the upstream monitoring. As a matter of fact, it's a replication of what has been done in the downstream. So in real time, Ghana is able to know exactly what is going on in the upstream, particularly for government, of course. And we will be able to know how much petroleum product, the hydrocarbons that has been extracted and stored and is being taken offshore to our, it's being taken away to sell, so we know exact amount of tax that we are supposed to receive when the sales goes through. We have also done similar thing for the gold. So for the first time, we are going to show to you, it's just a sneak peek into what is about to come in few weeks. We are going to outdoor this, but we want to give you the privilege to see into what we have prepared for Ghana. So with the gold solid minerals sector, what we have done is a replication of the downstream technology. We are moving the outdated system, as Professor said. The root causes is that we have outdated systems. The human intervention is also causing delays, causing inefficiency. SML has taken upon ourselves that we will use technology and innovation to bring these things away from our systems and for us to be able to have real-time insight. In petroleum industry, real-time insight, as it was being said by Governor Sanusi from Nigeria, is revenue. The minute you are able to see what is happening in your operation as it's happening, is that you have first-hand insight and you have power over the information. You can make informed decisions about everything that is going on with your business. And that's what SML has taken upon ourselves to use innovation to do. So we will show you something about the solid minerals, to how we are using technology to track from the extraction phase all through to the sales. We have not plugged in yet, so we cannot give you data as yet, but we will show you what the technology is like and how it's going to work. So I will call upon Mr. Abukari Hamdan to come up here to show us the technical part of what I have spoken about. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon to us all. I'm Hamdan from SML. So I'll be taking us through what we do at SML, basically the technical parts. So at SML, what we did was we deployed technology on all the 25 depots we have in the country. And due to the deployment, we are able to tell in real time the quantity of products that have been loaded from each and every facility. So as of today, I can tell you the quantity of petrol, diesel, or ATK that was loaded from each and every facility in Ghana. That's the oil depots in Ghana. Because of the flow metering systems we installed, one, like I mentioned, I can't be able to tell the quantity of product that we loaded today or yesterday. I could also be able to tell you the type of product that was loaded. And I can tell you the quantity, that's a general quantity of product that they have in the facility. And you know, if you're able to tell the stock of products you have in Ghana, that is the quantity of petrol, diesel, the petroleum refined product, in real time, you could use that data for, revenue forecasting. You can use that for your budgeting purposes. Also, that data could be used for fuel security related issues. So what we did was to install ultrasonic flow metering system together with automatic tank gauging systems. So the automatic tank gauging systems were installed on all the tanks. So with the automatic tank gauging system, it aids us to be able to tell you in real time the quantity of product that we have in the tank. So you can see, I guess the visuals are not so good, but you can see the ID of this tank, which is tank TK213. So with this, I can tell you that we have this quantity of, the linear measurement of product in the tank. That's the level of product in the tank. I could also tell you the volume of product in the tank, as well as the temperature of the product in the tank. Technically, this can also be used to track leakages, because we can have, we hear SDG talking about pollution, how we should keep our environment safe and all that. If there's a leakage in any of these tanks, without the automatic tank gauging systems, it will be difficult for the depot operators to be able to tell. So with the automatic tank gauging systems, we're able to tell. Now, we've installed the flow metering systems. To show this live coverage, you could see that the figures here are changing. So this is live. This is at a facility known as Bost Bupe. So Bost have quite a number of facilities, and one of it is the Bost Bupe site. So at Bost Bupe, currently they are loading products, and they are loading petrol and diesel. You can see this arrow is pointing down, right? So it means that they are discharging products from this tank. So they are discharging diesel, and the color code for diesel is yellow. if you come down here, you will see that the yellow flow meter count is changing. So it means it's counting, it's accumulating, it's totalizing the total quantity of product that has been lifted from the facility. You could also see that tank 213 has an arrow pointing down, which means that they are lifting products from this tank. So in real time, we can tell you that if Bupe today has sold maybe 2 million liters of petrol, 3 million liters of diesel. Now, there's a pipeline from Bupe all the way to Bolga. It's a 10 million liter pipeline. With the deployment that SML has done, if Bupe is transferring product from if Bust is transferring products from Bupe to Bolga, we are able to tell. Because in real time, there will be a depreciation in the quantity of product in a tank here, and there will be an appreciation at the other end in Bolga. So we are also able to use that for stock reconciliation. So this has to do with the downstream petroleum sector. So this gives us a clear insight of activities that happens in the petroleum downstream industry. So let's assume it's at night. You don't know, the customs have gone home. You don't know the activities that are being carried on in the facility. Now, with this deployment, even at night, the custom officer is able to have that insight when they come to work the next day, because they are able to have that clear appreciation of all activities that were carried out. Because what this does is, once a liter of product passes through the line, it clocks it and totalize it. So in real time, like I mentioned, we can tell you the quantity of product that have been loaded out of all facilities across the country. And that data is being used as a data point through the process in which we conduct our specialized audit service. So this serves as data points together with the waybills that our staff at the various depots scan. We use them as data points in conducting our customized audit service. So I want to move to our upstream part of the job. So please, if you can move to the upstream session. So this is our upstream monitoring center. And like my colleague mentioned, this is the first time we are putting this out there. So in fact, every one of us here, this is our first time we are putting out there. So I think we should be happy to see this. So this is our upstream monitoring center. And we are all aware that in Ghana, we have 3 working FPSOs. That's FPSO Kwame Nkrumah, John Evans Atamils, and John Ajekun Kufuor. So these FPSOs are owned, they are being managed by Yinsin and Modec. So what happens is with this, we are able to, with this deployment, we are able to tell the quantity of products that have been lifted. So if you look at the petroleum industry, the upstream petroleum industry, we have wells that have been drilled, right? You drill the well, you hit the reservoir, and you start the production of these hydrocarbons. The hydrocarbon comes in 3 phases: the gaseous state, the crude oil phase, and the water phase, right? So it goes through a process flow. So we have a process stream, which the crude oil goes through, where the products are being segregated into the gaseous state, the water, and also the crude oil, right? Afterwards, it goes through a flow metering system, okay, which is also known as the production flow meter. So I want to throw more emphasis on that. So if you can stop here, I want to throw more emphasis on this. So the production meter, right? Once you produce the hydrocarbons from the reservoir, it goes through the process train where the processing is done, and the crude oil is where the concentration is on, because that's where the money is. It's being stored into the tanks, right? So if you see the FPSO has tanks right beneath it. These are more of reservoirs where they store the crude oil. The products from the process stream passes through some flow meters before it gets into the tank. So SML, through their process design, have equipped I mean, we have plans to equip these FPSOs with this flow metering system such that every liter of crude oil that has been produced that moves to the storage will be captured. So in real time, we can be able to tell you that today Ghana produced this X amount of crude oil, right? So aside this, the product then moves into the tank. Then there's also another technology that we are going to deploy when the product gets into the tank. So if you can continue. So I'd like to talk on this. So this is supposed to be the tank part of it, right? So with this, like I mentioned, in real time, I could be able to tell you that the various compartments of the tanks has maybe this level of product, and every level has its corresponding volume, as well as the temperature of product in the tank. So we don't just use the flow metering system to determine the quantity of products in the tank, right, or that has been flown. We also use the tank gauging systems to be able to inform you that we have this X quantity of product in the tank, hence probably this what we received from production. And also, if you are going to offtake, you are able to use this to tell the quantity that has been offtaked or that has left the FPSO. So I want to continue. So if you can continue. So the last part of the process flow in the upstream that we are looking at is the offtake part, right? So we have the offtake meters. So what the offtake meter is, normally because these FPSOs are found several kilometers away from our shores, we use offtake vessels to load those products, right? So let's assume that, so what happens is in the upstream petroleum sector, the products are lifted in tens. So let's assume is GMPC, or who are actually the who's Ghana's participatory interest, right? Is they attend to load products or to offtake. Okay, they attend to offtake, right? So what happens is the vessel comes and they couple the hose to the vessel and they start discharging the product. So what happens with this goes straight to the market, and this is where the cash cow is. This is where the money is. So with this, SML has plans to install its flow metering systems to be able to tell the quantity of product that left the FPSO all the way into the vessel. And with this, we can tell you that today, Talo sold this quantity of product to the market. So I want to conclude my presentation with our gold monitoring system that we intend to deploy. That is solid minerals. So I guess the video will be rolling shortly. So this is a solid mineral division where every bar of gold that has been produced by the major mining companies will be scanned. So what we see here are screens that have been dedicated to all 22 mining companies we have in the country. So all the gold bars that have been produced in Ghana in the gold room will be scanned and monitored. So if you look at this, the system we are using is the SML Nova system. So if you can stop here. So this process, I was trying to check the purity of a gold bar. So what happens is in the solid mineral sector, we have the gold, right? Now, every gold bar has its composition. We talk about the purity level of the gold bar. We talk about the mineral composition of the gold bar. So a gold bar could be made up of, maybe it could have 24 karat, 22 karat, 18 karat. But with this device and with this system, I could be able to tell you that this gold ring that you have is made up of maybe gold, copper, diamond, nickel, silver. I mean, with this device, I could be able to tell you that. We also have a scale that will be able to tell you that, okay, the scale tells you that this is the weight of the gold bar. And with our AI system, we are able to calculate the royalty that's supposed to be paid on that gold bar. Now, with this, we track the gold bar all the way to the refinery where the gold is being refined. And we receive the refinery report back. And with this, we can be able to see if there are any gaps and conduct our reconciliation. And based on that, reports will be written to be given to our employees. Now, this system is supposed to be manned by the GRA. So GRA will be manning these systems at the mining companies as well as the monitoring center that has been prepared. So if you can continue with the video. So the video will end right now. So the gold bar we scanned was 2 kilos. So you can stop here. So you see that this gold bar that was scanned from Newmont. We have various, so these mining companies have various mining sites. So you can see the mining site ID, which region is it located in. I mean, we can give you all these details. Please, if you can continue, we can give you all these details. Then with this too, we can also tell you where the gold is. We're able to track the gold until the gold gets to the refinery, and when the report gets back, we're able to tell the details on the report. We're also able to give you an image, that pictorial appreciation of the item that has been scanned. So this is what we have for the gold, the solid mineral monitoring system that we have built that's yet to go live. We are just waiting for clearance, then we can go live. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. All right. So I have a very daunting task to conduct 2 sessions of conversations in 45 minutes. We'll see how to make it happen, especially when you have a team of stalwarts to talk to. But before that, ladies and gentlemen, please don't be in a hurry to go. I understand that lunch is sorted, and it's a very heavy pack. I like the way the lady is smiling at the back. So please don't be in a hurry to go, and in no time we'll be out of here. We are hoping to be done in the next 1 hour. Less than, oh no, I mean to be done by 1, sorry. By 1, so we have a few minutes to go. So we'll set the conversation rolling for the first panel discussion. Okay, welcome back from that short commercial break. Now, to the panel discussion. Next on the list for the first session is, I think she's one of the most popular female economists in the country as we speak. Yeah. Or Doc. Oh, you don't agree? Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Dr. Priscilla Chumesi from the University of Ghana. Nice to see you, Doc. All right. So the topic is exploring. Can I get microphones for the panel, please? Thank you. So our first topic is basically exploring the role of technology in reducing tax revenue leakages. So what are the key factors contributing to tax revenue leakage in Ghana, and how have technology helped in tackling this? I don't know if Deloitte will want to start with this one. I'm sorry. Forgive an atrocity. Forgive me. EY, pardon me. But anyway, panel, thank you so much for agreeing to be here. And so EY, we'll start with you. Is it working? Hello?
Hello. Yeah, thank you very much for the question. And before then, I'd like to say a big thank you to the organizers of this program. I think it's been a very insightful one. And the people here will all attest to the fact that we've learned a lot. Okay, so number one issue that I believe is contributing to tax revenue leakage is the fact that we have an informal economy. to pay. And the informal economy simply looks at the fact that there are a lot of people within the informal sector who are not being taxed. Looking at the woman who was the hairdresser, the driver here and there, a lot of artisans are within the economy earning a lot of money, and yet these are people who are not being taxed. Simply because we do not have an integrated system, a system where information can easily be linked and traced to individuals and to companies. And so for that reason, a lot of people are escaping taxes. They go about generating income, but then when it comes to the issue of being taxed, it becomes a hurdle. So what can be done simply to help address this? We've seen a lot of innovation, starting from Ghana card, tax identification numbers, and all of you. To the extent that these digital solutions are working properly, individuals, companies, and all of you can be, clamped down. You can trace information to the data transactions that have occurred in the past, and then the rightful taxes can be leveled. And so that, to me, is very crucial. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Doc, I'll come to you. I know you have at least looked at the data since the introduction of some technology-driven solutions to address revenue leakages. How much of a game changer would you say they've been so far?
All right, thank you, Michael, and good afternoon. Thank the organizers for the opportunity. I believe that the context has been properly laid out. The reality of the issue is that Ghana is a developing country. We have challenges with revenue mobilization. A number of factors account for that, but essentially, Ghana is predominantly informal in context. The informal sector is very difficult to tax, as my colleague panelist has indicated. And so you have a lot of people that are earning revenue but do not contribute. The other aspect is that we are a resource-rich nation, but we are unable to tax the resources that we generate really appropriately. And so in that context, it's exciting and interesting to see the innovation that is occurring in there. We know that persistently human interface, it's really the issue we deal with in terms of corruption, for tax agents to be negotiating how much obligation one has to pay with kickbacks and all. So when you remove the human interface, you increase the efficiency in the tax. And so if you ask me the gains that have been made, I am not sure I can lay claim to the fact that because X or Y intervention has occurred, this is exactly what you're seeing. But indeed, when you look at the trajectory of our tax revenue to GDP, you see that, for example, in 2024, we did about 15.9%, which is quite encouraging. This year, 2025, government is proposing 17.3%. And so, I mean, within the environment and the turbulence of US tariffs and all that, we are watching the space. But I believe that the reality is that technology is here. We need to leverage it to improve tax efficiency in terms of the cost of collection and also how much we are able to generate out of every process that is rolled out, really.
All right, thank you. Doc, I understand you also have experience in the extractive industry, so maybe you can share with us how things work there. But then, really, there's this conversation about technology helping to bridge the gap, but technology is still powered by persons. So there are bound to be inefficiencies, don't you agree?
Actually, the last part of your question is where I wanted to start from. But before that, thank you very much, organizers, for giving us the opportunity, especially allowing me to travel from Kumasi, the Golden Kingdom, to come and join this. I'm coming to talk about gold, you know. So let's start from there. It's humans. Technology or no technology, it's humans. And before we came here, I was talking to somebody and I said, because Prof. Bwedi has already said what I wanted to say, and I believe my panelists will agree with me that Prof. Bwedi has stopped us from talking. Because everything he said is exactly what the situation is. We are hemorrhaging, we are seriously bleeding, and it's human. Now, we are a developing country, but the developed countries too are humans. And those countries that change from being developing to now developed countries or emerged countries, they were humans. There are two main things apart from what has already been mentioned, the informal economic kind of situation, but I will interrogate the informal thing a bit more. Two main things. Number one, what is our culture like? To appreciate this, and because the majority of us here are students, take this scenario. We are in a classroom to write accounting or finance course, and then somebody got some confused about a topic and then asks, question two. Then another person responds. A third student raises up the hands, tells the invigilator, my friends are breaking the rule of the... Now, let me ask you, who will we attack? The one who reported, or the one who taught, or the one who sought for help? Agreed? Now, the second question, if we want this nation to develop, who should we praise?
The one who reported.
Because that's what Prof. Bwedi is saying. Prof. Bwedi is saying if we want our country to progress, then we should have the one who reported. Now, as you sit here, do you want the one who reported to be praised? And I'm a pastor. When such a thing happens, people come to me and I have to wear my clerical and put on a big cross and go and beg for them. And those of you who are chiefs, you finish painting your chow, put on some kente and maybe something, and go beg for them. This is cultural, to the extent that even your own parents... One time I asked my students, when Priscilla is appointed the Deputy Minister of Finance next year, she will go to church and say, thank you, God, wearing white. The mother will go with her. The father will go. I don't know whether she's married or not, but the significant people around her will go with her. What are they going to church for? Do you understand my question? In other words, true or false? A friend of mine says, if it is seriously true, then it is true. No more true. It is true. Then it takes me to the second thing. One of the biggest problems we have in this country, and it cuts across all the extractives, is that our country has been captured by the elite. It's not, you see, what we just shared here is not new to the big people. And if the big people want to change this, they won't be attacking SML. They won't be asking, how long have you been around? Because if you are looking for a solution, and somebody is a stranger, he came 2 days ago, and he brought a solution, will we complain? The elite have captured the political economy of this country and most of West Africa. And I always tell people that if you want to understand where we are going, study from Nigeria, because they are 15 steps ahead of us. So if you look at them and want to know where we are going, just look at them. And if you don't like where they are going, let's change the trajectory. I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm just trying to bring the human part to the technical conversation that we've been having. Not because the technical conversation is not important, but you know, when problems happen to even individuals, not even nations, they don't categorize themselves academically into topics. Technological solution, this solution, that solution. They come as a whole. They come as a monster. They come as a hydra-headed kind of thing that is difficult to deal with.
Okay.
But I personally believe that if we start dealing with the elite, and to deal with the elite, maybe later I'll talk to detail.
Yeah.
Why are we here and the government people are not here? Why are we here and Catholic conference is not here? Because they influence how we behave. Why is it that the traditional authority of the House of Chiefs are not here? They are the people who determine how we behave, how we go to the courts, and all those things. Maybe.
Thank you so much. Very, very passionately said. I'm just wondering what your lecture class will be like, but very interesting submissions there. Clearly, the problem requires a holistic solution because now it goes beyond systemic to attitudinal to cultural. But then I'm sure there's always a starting point, and maybe technology is one way to start. Ms. Mensah, so share with us, please, what has been the challenges, I'm sure at least from the work that you do at EY with tax compliance and leveraging on technology to achieve that. How has it been, per your assessment?
Okay, so with regards to tax compliance, one major challenge we have actually encountered, and the GRA has also experienced same, is the fact that most taxpayers are not willing to pay taxes. Okay, they would want to seize every opportunity to underreport revenue and then overprice costs. So then you realize the majority of the times when you have multinationals here in Ghana, they have a lot of related party transactions, and that typically leads to issues of transfer pricing. Okay, so we sometimes will call it transfer mispricing because that is where the values are altered. So then the aim of transfer pricing is to shift, revenue to countries where tax rates are lower, and then costs to countries where tax rates are higher, and the aim is to benefit the multinational group. So if, for instance, a mining company has revenue of, let's say, 36 million, and then is able to, bloat its costs such that the cost ends up being more than the revenue, you go in there and you realize that there's very little to tax. Though those revenues may be legitimate, they could be backed by invoices, they could be backed by agreements and all of that, but they may not be at arm's length. So we have the transfer pricing units of the GRA conducting, I think of recent times we've had vigorous tax audits being conducted in the transfer pricing area. And when that happens, you see a lot of revenue coming through in the form of corporate taxes because there are adjustments that are to be done. Typically transfer pricing would want to compare. We have several forms. You need to apply the right principle and then know whether the taxes are being evaded or whatnot. I wouldn't usually say that tax planning is a bad thing. Tax planning is actually a good thing, but the main aim is that taxpayers are in the habit of evading taxes, are in the habit of avoiding taxes, and that is the main bane. Once we have people who are willing to pay taxes, willing to comply, then this problem should not be there. And again, the issue of transfer pricing, we can also link it to the fact that if we have a system we have that system, but then for it to be more robust, for the competent authority, which is here in Ghana, GRA, and those of related parties, that is countries of origin, they should work together coincisively to ensure that there's IT audits. The system should be able to pick up, transactions that are, fictitious and fraudulent instantly. And we have talked extensively about, ICOMS and all of you. We've talked about the ITAS. We've talked about metering systems. So if we have digital solutions working properly, we can be able to merge works that are being done by the competent authorities, GRA, and then other countries. So that is my submission.
Fantastic. The first time I heard about transfer pricing was in Mr. Tuare's class, and he's here. Hello, sir. Please put your hands together for another of my lecturers. All right. So, Doc, I'll come back to you, Dr. Chumesi. So, clearly, we need to fix this issue of revenue compliance and tackling the issue of leakages. Really, in your opinion, where do you think we should start from? And if we are able to fix this challenge, how much of a difference would it make with our tax to GDP ratio? I've heard people like Dr. Eric here say that if we can increase our tax to GDP ratio above 20%, we may not need the IMF again. Where do you sit?
Right. Essentially, when you look at the projection for ECOWAS countries, really towards economic integration and all the issues with building resilience and avoid vulnerabilities in the countries, there's a target of 20% and above for tax revenue. And so indeed, it's important that we work at it. And so I'll give you a typical scenario. I think that, yes, we consistently indicate that digitalizing the whole process, removing the human interface is critical. A number of years ago, I think about 2018, a few colleagues of mine with the Growth Center conducted a study in the Medina municipality, and it was in relation to property tax collection. And so you know that property taxes are ceded to the local governments, and they lack the capacity to collect, inefficiency in collection. People come to your door, collect the money, give you some fictitious receipts. You don't know where the money is ending. And so in that study, they try to give out collection agents handheld devices to track real time the revenues that are coming in. And believe you me, the amount of revenue they rigged in, I think their performance was like 5 times what they had done. And this is just a small municipal area. So if something like this is rolled out all over the country, you see the potential for revenue. So we are really sitting on gold in a sense that not necessarily the real gold, which we have to generate enough from, but there are other revenues that need to be collected. So the informal sector is difficult to tax. You cannot track how much market men and women are making, but you know the cars they are driving, the homes they live in, they should pay something on it. And those are the other avenues. And I think that essentially tax education is critical. I mean, paying taxes is a civil responsibility of every citizen. Back in the day when there was the land poll tax, by the time you turn 18 or 21, you had to pay tax. So all of you had to pay something at the end of the year to government. Look at the way some of them are eyeing me. But it's a responsibility because you demand social services. You require street lights, the water, the electricity. You are not paying market prices for it. And where do the funds come from? But when it comes to the willingness to pay, it becomes more like a chicken and egg situation. If I am paying, I need to see that it is working. So when issues of leakages and corruption, non-performance of state-owned enterprises, wasting public resources, then you see that the apathy creeps in. But like my other panelists have said, the places we go to where systems are working, nobody is happy paying taxes, but there are penalties involved when you evade or even avoid the tax, really.
Thank you. I like the balance you put in there, because to get the people's buy-in, you must ensure that you're giving them value for money. So in as much as you're trying to rope the people in, government must also know that it must deliver on its mandate. Then people will be keen to pay. And I like the fact you made there about the property taxes. I was surprised at the quality of buildings I saw in Quarry. And a lot of them may be living in rented apartments here and not pay property taxes, whilst they have mansions out there that are not paying taxes at all. So it's important that we also synchronize the system, like you are saying. Doc, I'll come to you on your final submission. So we've spoken about expanding the tax net. We've spoken about addressing leakages. Now, where do we go from here?
Okay. So let me add a bit to this, then I jump to where we should go from here. There was a question you asked about where do we start? When somebody is seriously sick, you don't look for all the long-term solutions. You don't say, hey, my friend, you are sick. This sickness, if you were gymming, so start gymming. The person is almost dying. You say gymming? I hope you get what I'm saying. So the way we are hemorrhaging, we don't start with the good things that are sustainable. Even though those good things that are sustainable should be our aim. But we start with what we are talking about now, technology. This one is straight to the point. I have a worry. I'm not a tax expert. In fact, of all the management things I know about, I think tax is the area I really don't know. But I'm asking myself, do we get more taxes because the amount of taxes are big or because more people are paying? That balancing act, can the academics work with government? Unfortunately, in this country, policymakers don't like academics. They don't like giving us their data. They don't like us coming into their, SML is not a normal public sector people. I was doing some work with Maslow some time ago, and if I tell you what I went through for 5 full years, looking for just data that is supposed to be available, it wasn't easy. So I think right from this, and I'm mentioning 2 things we haven't mentioned already. Can we use drones to identify this property you're talking about? It's been done in other countries. India does it.
Okay.
Yes, they use drones. So the drones will help them. They don't need to come to you. You'll be there and they send you the message that you need to pay X or Y. Use the system to pay it. And that system will go straight to government. And then blockchain technology. Blockchain is just a kind of technology that can back any of these, including what SML is doing, such that nobody can easily erase anything or change anything. What is behind Bitcoin? Nobody really even knows where blockchain started from. And you can't easily change it. We are Ghanaians. I have a friend, an older friend, who tells me that there are 2 things that you should never forget about Ghanaians. They will either lie or steal or both. Even if it is your wife or your husband, assume they will lie or they would steal. Put in place what it takes for them not to lie. Just like my brother Eric said earlier, that yes, and Steve Adair used to say that in Gimpa, in God we trust, every other person we monitor. Including me. I have to monitor my own self. I have to monitor my wife. I have to monitor my children. I trust my children. But I don't allow them to have closed doors. Teenagers, behind closed doors, they stay in their rooms alone. No. You never lock your door. You always have your door open, knowing that anybody can come in at any time. When you are ready to leave the house, you can go and lock your door when you rent a place and stay. But when you are in my house, in God we trust, everybody we monitor. So that we can use these systems to do that. Now, you're asking me, so where do we go? I have mentioned the emergency one. But in the long term, the question is, the people we want to come into the task net, do they have the technological knowledge and capacity and the willingness, if I don't want to talk about willingness, and the ability, to do it. So I think the issue of empowerment by education, by training, by whatever, should come. And some of these things should not start just when people are in universities. Yeah. Right from childhood. This Lampo thing my dear sister just mentioned, I was just asking myself, how can we inculcate the habit of paying taxes in children before they grow? Yeah, saying we are spoiled. So if we want in the long run to have a country that is properly built, we should be thinking, what should we put into younger people such that by the time they grow, the habit of giving to society, not for your personal interest directly, but for all of us, the corporate, growth should be formed. And I think the people in education should think about that seriously.
Okay.
And think about how to.
If I don't cut you, the students will be angry at me because their lunch depends on when you finish your submission. So on this note, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the panel. I'm sure we could have gone on and on and on, but thank you so much. Please put your hands together as they assume their seats. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great conversation. And just for the records, there were 2 women on the panel and 1 man, just in case you didn't notice. All right, so to the next conversation, public-private partnerships, strengthening the fight against tax revenue leakages. We have George K. from KPMG. It's Michael Boating. Michael Boating. Okay, nice. Michael, please take the stage for us. Thank you. From KPMG. Dr. Benjamin K. Akolache, Esquire, from GNPC. Dr. Charles J. Fiofori, Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASEP. Charles is young, but he's a doctor, just so you know. And to my former lecturer from ICAG, Dr. Hey, are you on the way? Mr. Al-Hassan Yusuf Traore.
Investigation, all those things. The idea is good, but because of procedure. So, from my experience at the public service, procedure is everything. Know your laws. Know when to move. And for public sector, we have the AG there. If there are contracts being done and all those things, bring in the AG. You have internal lawyers, but you also use them to advise you. They should have standard contract terms and all those things. So if all these things are done, you are sure your idea is good. And let me go back to my first call. I was trained as a programmer, computer scientist. We cause some resistance to change. If you want to implement a system, you need to engage. You need to engage, as the previous doctor said. You need to empower people, train people. Let the people buy in. If there's no buy-in, you have a very good idea, but the idea will fail along the line. So what I would say is stakeholder engagement is very important. Identify the stakeholders and engage them. Public Interest Accountability Committee, PIA, EITI, Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. All this is out there, CSOs. You need to engage them. If you engage them and they buy in, you are sure to succeed. So these are my initial remarks, having worked for JNC for some time.
For how many years?
I've been there for 5 years.
5 years.
Almost
Nice.
5 years.
Almost 5 years. Thank you so much. So it's becoming clearer that, especially, Michael, this is to you. With all that we've heard over the last couple of days, especially with ECG, it appears it's becoming clearer that there are some things that government can't do without the private sector. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, and good afternoon, everyone. I think if you take a step back and look at the key point that we've been discussing from morning, that is revenue leakage. One of the things that you get to know is that from other jurisdictions that have actually worked well, utilizing special expertise from the private sector or public sector has been something that has worked. And this is something that I was going to say as one of my last points before I close, but I think I'll just say it for the essence of time. I did my master's in the US, and as an accounting student, the school had a program for accounting students. What they did was that every tax season, the school will organize volunteers, that's from the students. They will train them for about 2 weeks on how to prepare tax returns, and they simplify tax returns. Now, what they did was that by the time you go through the program, your key target is to actually focus on certain low income or people who in Ghana we may call it informal sector, because if you look at the numbers we are talking about, 80% informal sector. You can say that, okay, look, UPSA accounting faculty, we are going to partner with ICA. We are going to train students. We target Makwala. We target this. Look, we are going to organize this for you for free. We are going to help you understand your tax obligations, how to prepare accounts, because you see that the government has been trying to simplify accounting and tax obligations for informal sector. This could be one way that this institution or this organization can contribute. I've spoken about this on certain platforms, and it has not been kicked in. I think it's something that we can take from here. And this platform, I don't know whether there's any better platform than bringing it up before I even continue. Okay. So let's look at where we are. One of the key things that we are talking about in Ghana, where the essence of the Ghana card. The essence of the Ghana card. You see, the Ghana card concept was not just an idea of identification, but it's one way of making sure that it becomes our tax database. All our national ID numbers are supposed to be our tax ID numbers. When you are buying a car, it's registered in your name. If you are buying a plot, it's registered in your name. If you have a bank account, it's registered in your name with the same identification, common identification. The idea is that somebody should sit in the comfort of one place, pick your name, or get your only, all that they need is your name and your phone number. They will know everything about you. They know how much taxes you are paying. The question is that after we got this data, what have we used with it? Does the GRA has the resources to actually use this data to actually identify people and also make sure that we are paying the taxes? That's the question that we are all thinking about. And I think as we keep talking about informal sector, that informal sector, all their database sitting in there, all their houses are sitting in there. How do we need partnership, public partner relationship to actually execute that? That is one thing. And I think that's one of the things that we've seen over the years. Now let me give you an example, last example. When I joined KPMG, every year when we're going to file taxes, people have to pay taxes. There's a long queue because people are submitting checks and those things. We all know the Ghana.gov, where now people sit in the comfort of their homes and paying taxes, passport fees and those things. Now, when you look at our office, there are people who just by the time that people will go to our population, filing returns, everything, they just sit there and just keep filing returns, saving money, saving time. That's the benefit of private sector. And these are things that we want to encourage. So there are so many things out there that we can talk about. But I think this is just a brief discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Charles. For you as CSO, I'm sure the bottom line is protecting public interest, whichever way. And you have no reservations about PPPs, right?
All right, thank you. I think even if you look at the power sector and the conversations we've been having around ECG, ASEP has been very vocal on the need for private sector participation within the distribution aspect of the power sector, and so we don't shy away from PPP. But one of the things you also note is that much as you don't shy away from private sector participation, the process of getting the private partner should be very transparent and should be competitive. I think that for assets that are huge, like the oil and gas sector, the power sector, whether upstream or downstream, and even the extractive sector in general, yes, when you are doing revenue assurance and all of that, and there's the need to bring in technology, there's the need to bring in the private sector, those peculiar safeguards needs to be put in place so that we are all protected. We did some work around the quarry sector some years ago. And one of our key recommendations was for us to use technology, remote sensing technology, to account and monitor for quarry production. And this was because we saw gross misreporting of quarry production data. From the investigations we had and the analysis we did, we figured that the revenues that were being reported and then the potential revenues the potential revenues could be more, about 18 times more than what was being reported, and it was because of, gaps in perhaps regulation and monitoring of the quarry sector, and just because the quarry was an industrial mineral, and most of the attention is placed on the precious minerals, right? Okay, so that is just to say that technology is good, and having that kind of PPP is essential for us to do that, but safeguards need to be put in place. Now, since my report from my organization was mentioned in the presentation, I think just to touch on a few issues around this whole SML, and I think that we also put in a statement also looking at the analysis and the assessment of the figures that were being predicted, that were provided by SML within this whole contracting regime and then revenue assurance regime. And I think that nobody is interested in saying that we don't want, let's say, a Ghanaian business to thrive or to make sure that, what is done is supposed to be done. But I think that we interrogated a lot of figures. We interrogated a lot of figures from the MPA side and then from the GRE side. And given that GRE's figures are the ones that we use for revenue assurance and for tax purposes, we checked. And we looked at the changes, we looked at the differences between what is being claimed that we have saved and what is being reported by the GRA itself that takes revenue and data for tax purposes. And we saw that there's a gap. And